Hi guys, quick update here for YouTube. It's now Thursday, 2024. It's November the 7th. Now, quick update for SMCI. So we have covered this a few days ago. Now, they've been very disgusting here. Very rarely have I seen anything like this in my over 18 years of looking at this. I mean, that is a disgusting level of shakeout. I mean, understand, when it was here, it was actually down 75% even on that level. Now, that wasn't the best weekly candle, to be fair, but then you got T plus 1, T plus 2, and then which is the delayed margin calls. Then you've got the move here, which might very well have been an oversold bounce. In the end, it turns out it was just an ABC4. Then they've been very cheeky and they've dumped it one more time. How low can this possibly go? I mean, if it breaks down below this low, it's definitely going to go to zero. So incredibly high risk, high reward play here, and we're looking for the headline. The headline is going to be 50 or a double from the lows, which is now going to be 40. So anywhere into this gap, you've done really well. Now, I haven't for 1 second said it's going to make a new high. I don't think you'll see that high ever again. However, the plan was 50. Basically like an oversold B wave. Then it might go into some kind of more complex WXY, eventually filter down. Something like that was the plan. So the execution has been difficult because of the constant fear mongering and the constant selling here. But selling has to eventually abate. Once the last seller has sold, the market has to go up. It's not possible for it to do anything else. And look at this nice decrease in volume throughout the wedge type accumulation with local increases in fear. And clearly there was still, sellers to shake out here. And now finally we're getting some recovery here, which looks a lot more a lot more impulsive than the previous. And this is what we were looking for, a higher low with less sell volume. So back on track here with SMCI. It's just been a little bit difficult getting the exact entry here and having to hedge with some puts, having to short vertical spread. So it's been difficult getting the entry, okay? We want to buy as close as possible to the low. We don't just want to randomly buy at 30 and then never look at it again, okay? There's no way anyone can hold throughout any of that. So it's been very difficult, but now we've got the move. The move is materializing. A double from the lows gets you to 40, and 25 to 40, that's a lot of money. And then, the best goal is going to be 50 and basically a reclaim of the entire gap. Now, the true gap fill will basically get you at 50 because that's basically where it broke down from. So we're looking at a repair. We're not looking for a major bubble here all the way back up to 120. We're just looking for some kind of corrective BS, right? So basically, they're not going to get delisted from the NASDAQ. I don't think. They might move out of the S&P. It doesn't really matter. I don't think they're going to get delisted from the NASDAQ. And that's enough to get this up there with a bit of volume, a bit of effort before the end of the year. And when it gets to around 50, we don't really care. Once you sell something, no need to really look at that ever again. Now, we're having a look at Solana. So Solana is probably the best altcoin. There is a count which gets you to 1,000, which we made about a year ago. It's looking good. I think making a plan to all-time new highs is definitely possible if you were to take that as the first leg, second leg, third leg, and then that gets you to 406. And obviously you've got your reverse algo targets as well. So I think in the first instance, all-time new highs. If you want to join the group, you know where we are. Mumu is a coin which we've been looking at for quite some time here. Once again, very high risk, very high reward. It appears to be consolidating very, very nicely here. You've got inside candles all over the place, and those who have taken the masterclass, you would know that this is inside candle 1. Then you've got failure. It's not materialized, so it sets up an even more powerful move to take out the previous high. Then you've got the first parent high here. Then you've got the actual parent high all the way here. So we have to understand Solana is where it's at. We identified that when we were buying Solana 1.5 years ago at $4 and $5. That was a superb buy, and now it's up 20x since that move, if not closer to it's more like 40x. So if you want to join the group, you want to know what we're doing, what stocks we're going into. I don't always get the time to do YouTube videos because I'm so in focus with the group. And obviously things change. Like with SMCI, it's not just a straightforward manner of do you sell, do you buy, you can hedge, you can short vertical spreads. There are various things you can do, but you have to manage it. You can't just buy at 30 and watch it go down to 20. That's a drawdown of 33% without doing anything. You don't ever want to be a deer in the headlights. So we discussed a lot of this actually on the masterclass, and obviously we're still working on getting that part 2 of the mortgage course, which should be out here pretty soon. We're hoping in the next couple of months. I don't think it'll be out before the end of the year, but it should be soon after that. Now let me just go on to the futures here. Obviously we've had a huge move here in Bitcoin. A lot of the altcoins are struggling, to be honest. When you look at Ethereum, I don't think that makes a new high anytime soon. We're now getting a breakout out of this move. It's what is the count? Well, the bullish count that we've been running is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gets you to 103. We do have targets. Our first target has been hit. It was 74,480, which was basically take out the high. And then we had to make sure it wasn't a failed breakout, which it obviously isn't. It wants to go up. Our next target is, we've hit our second target too, 76. Third target's going to be 83,500. And then we have one within the 90s. And then obviously you've got the 100K psychological target. So Bitcoin is making a move here. It looks to be quite a genuine move. It's moving with some real volume here. Do I have my doubts as to how far this can go? Yes, I do. However, you have to stick with it, and Solana is the best coin there, which is moving really well. Now, 1.5 years ago, before anyone else, we called a move towards 60. Now, this is a very important level because if it breaks 60, it's going all the way towards 70. We were basically looking at 60 from 1.5 years ago, which was in the midst of this consolidation block. This is a very, very important level. And the reason this is important is if it's not going to stop at 60, it's a much larger flat sequence, which obviously will get you towards 70. And then this is not over. So let's assume bullish case scenario on the Bitcoin dominance. That will continue rallying till around, I would say, spring, Easter time, March, April time, to around 70%. However, if it fails there, we'll get an immediate whoosh back down again to around 50%. However, we could easily get both scenarios where we correct here, bounce back, let's say we consolidate between 50 and 60, then eventually make the move, okay? Something tells me eventually this Bitcoin dominance wants to continue higher towards 70%. I don't think this is the end of the cycle move. Like, for example, here, we got the move towards 60, very important level as you can see. Then we corrected, then we went back up again. So basically what I'm trying to say is, a long story short, we could easily do both in the sense that we correct here, right in time for Thanksgiving, which is a seasonally optimistic time for the altcoins, as we know. So something like that, basically. Consolidate, don't collapse, because I just don't see this falling much below, max 51, 52%. I don't see this falling. I think this dominance chart is too powerful, and the larger count is probably a flat pattern. Because if that was just to collapse from here, it would make you think of some kind of WXY, and it doesn't really have the right look. And besides, that would suggest a gigantic altcoin season. So, a long story short, consolidation between now and the end of the year, between 52 at the low side, 60, 61 at the upside, and then eventually in the first quarter of 2025 make its way towards 70%. And then technically that is the larger flat sequence done. Then are we again going to get this, a gigantic altcoin season, the biggest of all time? Possibly. But anyway, something there just to think about. I do think this chart has its merits. At times, there's no need to even look at this really. It just really tells you which coins are best to hold. But, when Bitcoin goes up and this goes up, you hold Bitcoin. But that's not to say Solana has done poorly. Solana has outperformed Bitcoin. So if you're finding a pseudo altcoin, as I call it, something like Solana is just the new Ethereum. Like I said, best case scenario, Solana was going to copy the fractal from Ethereum, right? We were the first to call a move to 1,000 before anyone else. We were the first to call this, right? Copy, paste, and then let's just delete all of that and get all the previous targets off. And then there you go, right? We're saying Solana might possibly do it. So a straight copy and paste. So something like that, basically, right? It's not perfect, but then nothing is it, right? This is the stock market, you know. We're not expecting everything to just line up. So, you know, a rough kind of calculation. Once again, that gets you to 1,000. By once again, we're back to Easter again. So to me, there's a major pivot point between March to May 25, right? Maybe that's going to coincide with the S&P top. I'm not too sure. The S&P continues rallying here. I mean, we are still passively bullish. It's not something which I do, passively invest, because there's more money to be made in active management. But this little crypto cycle, I don't think it's over. So Solana was definitely one to be, you know, keep an eye on. Like I said, if you want to join the group, everything's there. As you have seen recently, we caught the moving plug, LAC. SMCI was a little bit dicey in terms of the entry, that's all. But it doesn't make it the wrong call. It is a swing trade, so you got to give it time to breathe. It's not my fault everyone's panic selling SMCI, right? The reason that they knock this market down is to test the supply underneath. Right? Otherwise, there'll be no reason to test this down. These are Wyckoff tests. So, in the end, they had to knock it all the way down to 20 to make absolutely for damn sure everyone's capitulated. Look, that was a test, but the volume was too high. There were too many sellers. Then they knock it down. There's still too many sellers. So, and now it's got to a point where the sellers have completely been eviscerated. There's no more sellers. Once the last seller has sold, they can then mark it up. It's disgusting. You can call it rigged. You can call it dirty games, but then you're playing a dirty game, so you have to know all the dirty tricks. Anyway, great time to be joining the group. There's crypto, there's stocks making new highs. There's Nvidia going for $4 trillion market cap. We were the first to call that anywhere on the planet. Out of 6.5, 7 billion people, we're the first ones to call that. So we've made some of the greatest calls of all time here. So have a look through my old videos. If you want to be an independent learner, that's fine. We've got the masterclass. Otherwise, come and join the group. Great time to be joining. You're really missing out. I'll see you guys on the next video whenever I get the chance.